began as one of those days small towns don't worry about. A cold afternoon, a day off from school, two best friends heading out for a walk on a familiar trail. No one in Delphi, Indiana, locked their doors because of a hiking path. No one imagined that an old railway bridge, a place kids used for photos, would become the center of one of the most disturbing murder cases in modern American history. On February 13th, 2017, Liberty Libby, German, 14, and Abigail Abby Williams, 13, are dropped off near the Monon High Bridge Trail, part of the Delphi Historic Trails. It's the kind of spot where you hear wind in the trees, the creak of old wood, maybe the distant sound of a car on a faraway road, but mostly you hear nothing, just quiet, just the kind of silence that usually makes people feel safe. That day, it was the silence before something unspeakable. At around 2 p.m., the girls make their way onto the abandoned railroad bridge, a narrow stretch of aging wooden planks suspended high above a shallow creek. To them, it's not a crime scene. It's a backdrop. Libby pulls out her phone and takes a photo of Abby walking across the bridge, arms slightly out for balance, just another teenager crossing old tracks. She posts it to social media. It looks like a normal moment, the kind you'd scroll past in a second and forget. But this image will later be frozen on news broadcasts around the world as one of the last documented moments of the girls' lives. Not long after that photo, something changes. Authorities would later say that Libby, incredibly, seems to sense a threat. We don't know exactly what she felt in that moment. A strange presence, a man too close, a voice that didn't fit the setting. But we know what she did. She starts recording, quietly, deliberately. She lifts her phone and points it toward the bridge behind Abby. This decision, in the middle of what must have been a terrifying situation, would turn a teenage girl into the key witness in her own murder case. On that video, which the public has only seen in short clips, a man is walking along the bridge toward the girls. He's wearing a dark jacket, jeans, a cap. His hands are in his pockets. At first glance, he doesn't look like a monster. He looks like any other middle-aged man on a walk. But if you watch his body language, the angle of his shoulders, the steady way he moves, it feels less like a stroll and more like a decision. He's closing the distance between himself and two unarmed children on a narrow structure with nowhere to go. Then comes the audio. Investigators later enhance the sound and isolate a brief, chilling command. In a low, controlled voice, the man says, "Guys, down the hill." 3 words. No shouting, no panic, no visible struggle on the recording, just an instruction. Down the hill. It sounds like someone who expects to be obeyed, someone who's done giving warnings and is now directing the next move.
Guys, down the hill.
Those 3 words will echo for years. They will be played on television, on podcasts, in YouTube videos. People will listen over and over, trying to hear something in his accent, his breathing, the way he says guys. Is he local? Is he calm? Is he pretending to be calm? For investigators, this short clip is both a gift and a torment. They have something almost no murder case ever has, the suspect's face and voice, captured by one of the victims, minutes before her death. But they still don't know his name. When the girls don't show up at the pickup point later that afternoon, worry spreads quickly. At first, families hope for the simple explanations. Maybe the signal dropped, maybe they lost track of time. But Delphi is small. People know these kids. They know their routines. It doesn't take long before that uneasy feeling hardens into fear. That evening, searchers move along the trails and around the bridge with flashlights and raised voices, calling their names into the dark. The next day, February 14th, their bodies are found near a creek, not far from the trail. What was supposed to be a day off from school has become a double homicide. The murder scene is disturbing enough that many details are kept from the public even years later. In court, jurors and reporters would eventually hear that both girls suffered fatal injuries to the neck and that their bodies appeared to have been moved and staged after they were killed, suggesting not just violence, but a twisted sense of control and symbolism from the killer. It wasn't just an attack, it was a message, though what that message meant is something only one person truly understands. Very quickly, investigators turn their attention to Libby's phone. What they recover from it changes everything.
See, this is the path that we go down. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here. Hi.
There is the video of the man on the bridge walking toward the girls. There is the audio, the now famous "Guys down the hill." There is GPS data showing where the phone was and when. And there is the sobering detail that the phone was later found under one of the bodies, having slowly powered down during the night as messages from worried family members went unanswered. Within days, authorities decide to go public. They release still images of the man from the video, grainy, zoomed-in frames that show a heavy-set figure in a jacket, head down, walking on the bridge. They release the short audio clip of his voice. The suspect, now known only as Bridge Guy, is suddenly everywhere. His blurred silhouette and that three-word command are on national news, in online forums, on every true crime channel. The hope is that someone, somewhere, will recognize him. A neighbor, a co-worker, a relative who hears that voice and feels their stomach drop. Tips pour in by the thousands. Citizens across the country freeze the video, adjust the contrast, slow down the audio, trying to decode tiny details. Investigators release composite sketches, then update them, then change them again, fueling speculation and confusion. The case becomes a storm of theories. Is he a local hunter who knows the land? A trucker passing through? Someone with a law enforcement or military background? Online communities dissect every frame of the clip, every public statement from police, every rumor about the crime scene. Meanwhile, in Delphi, none of this noise changes the fact that two families are waking up every day with empty rooms and unanswered questions. For years, the investigation appears publicly to stall. Behind the scenes, though, evidence is being processed and reprocessed. Technology for analyzing ballistics video and digital data improves. Old tips sit in boxes, waiting for someone with fresh eyes to notice what others missed. One of those tips, it turns out, came from a man who said he had been on the trail that day. His name would later become central to the case. In October 2022, more than 5 years after Abby and Libby were killed, authorities announce a shocking development. A local man from Delphi, Richard Allen, has been arrested and charged with their murders. He isn't a drifter or an outsider. He lives about 2.5 miles from the Manon High Bridge. He works at the local CVS pharmacy. He has no known criminal record. For the people of Delphi, the idea that the man accused of killing these girls had been living among them, serving them at a store, existing inside their grief without a visible trace of guilt, is almost as disturbing as the crime itself. Court documents outline why investigators believe he is the man on the bridge. They say an unspent .40 caliber bullet was found near the bodies and was later forensically linked to a handgun owned by Allen. They say he admitted to being on the trail the day of the murders. During his trial, jurors would hear that he allegedly confessed dozens of times while in prison, telling family members, a psychologist, and even prison staff that he was responsible. The defense challenges these claims, raises questions about the investigation, and argues that no DNA directly ties him to the crime. But the image of that man on the bridge, the audio of Down the Hill, and the physical evidence prosecutors present all point in one direction. After years of uncertainty, a jury finds Richard Allen guilty of the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German. He faces a sentence that can keep him in prison for the rest of his life. For some, this verdict brings a measure of justice. For others, it raises even more questions about motive, planning, and whether anyone else might have been involved or known what he did. But one thing is now official in the eyes of the law. The man whose voice echoed through that cell phone recording has a name, and he is no longer just the blurred figure known as Bridge Guy. Through all of this, one image and one sound remain at the heart of the Delphi story. A teenage girl holding up a phone because something feels wrong, capturing a stranger's approach, and recording 3 words that would outlive her. Investigators have repeatedly called Libby a hero for what she did that day. Without her quick instinct to hit record, this case might still be a ghost story. 2 girls gone, no suspect, no face, no voice. Instead, there is evidence, there is a timeline, there is a path to justice. The Delphi murders are about horror on a quiet trail, but they are also about a community that refused to let 2 young girls be forgotten, and about a victim who, in her final moments, did something that changed the direction of the entire investigation. A bridge, a hill, a voice on a phone, and the question that lingers long after the trial is over. When you listen to that calm, controlled command, "Guys, down the hill," what exactly was going through the mind of the man who said it, and how many times had he imagined that moment before he ever stepped onto that bridge?